And good evening. Welcome once again to Branco Broadcast. I am Bob Branco.
Hey, Bob.
With us this evening, we have the Workforce Development Specialist for the Carroll Center for the Blind in Newton, Massachusetts, Marianne Gilmore. How are you, Marianne?
Oh, I'm very well, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak on your program.
Well, it's our pleasure. Well, you can tell us a little bit about what you do, and then once you're finished, we'll be happy to ask you some questions.
Definitely. So I've always enjoyed helping people with bettering themselves and reaching their goals. And I think employment is just the best fit, because you talk about rehabilitation, and that's what I studied in college, vocational rehabilitation. And, you can kind of sit and talk with someone and, see what they're all about and what they're interested in. But there's nothing like a job to give someone that independence, that feeling of community, and the rehab just kind of naturally goes with it, because you're accepted finally, and you a contributing person in the society and in your community. So that rehabilitation just goes hand in hand. I've been here for 9 years now. I've been in the field for about 30 years, mostly working with people with developmental disabilities, but always with work. Started out as working at a workshop in Norwood, and really kind of felt with the clients, they kind of wanted to get out of the workshop. So I focused then working at a yellow cab of Norwood and assisted a gentleman with cleaning insides and outsides of cabs. And then I worked at a computer company, actually a stereo company, and people were opening boxes all day long, and I helped a gentleman compact cardboard. So those were our first few community outings. And then I heard of a job at Children's Hospital, and basically it was people that worked at Children's for 6 months, and then we'd find them jobs either within the hospital or out in the community. And that was about almost a 20-year position. And then I learned about that I really liked working with people who are blind or visually impaired, and started working at the Carroll Center and been there for 9 years. But it's always the same focus, is the vocation. What is somebody interested in? What are their dreams and goals? And trying to fit that with what's out in the community and then provide support. So that's kind of what I'm about. And then I can tell about some of the programs at Carroll Center, and then we could open up for questions. How does that sound?
Sounds fine.
Okay. So right now there's 6 programs at Carroll Center that are for people who are blind or visually impaired. Lots of times people are figuring, okay, well, maybe I've never worked before. And that's fits for people that either in our summer experience, where they're high school kids that perhaps without the Carroll Center would be at home not doing what their peers are doing. They may not have that opportunity to get a job. And they do get paid in this particular program called Real World of Work Experience. It runs 7 weeks in July and August. Then for that same age group, but a little bit older, probably 18 to 25 group, there is what we call the Vocational Transition Program, and that's during the year. So it's usually about 20 weeks that a person comes, and they combine the independent living with the vocation. What's nice about that is, you're getting ready to, go to interviews. So our personal management teacher helps with, organizing the room, cleaning up your room, picking out clothes that would be nice for an interview. You have a teacher in technology that trains you how to take notes. So at the interview, you can take notes as the as the employer is speaking, you can also pop up your questions on a iPad or something, so you'll look very someone that's very prepared for work. A similar program is called the Job Market Preparation Program. Both of these programs have internships, and the Job Market Preparation, that's for people that have worked out in the field but maybe are losing their vision, or this is later on after they've had a career, but they want to go back to work. They just need the tools to do that. We then have Computing to Employment, and that's our, if you know the Carroll Center, that used to be the old office skills program. That one, it's 6 weeks, and it's a combination of working either with Heather or David Kingsbury, Heather Campbell, and it's 1-to-1, could be 1-to-2, 1-to-3, 9 to 3 Monday through Friday, and then you'd meet with myself or other vocational counselors during the week to go to job fairs, get your resume done, interview skills, disclosure, those type of things. There is then iWork, and this is relatively new in the last 5 years for college students who actually this is for outside of Massachusetts, because inside of Massachusetts you go to the MCB internship for the summer. But with us, it's people that maybe come from upstate New York who maybe the only place they've ever worked is at their church. And, working at a place like State Street or Blue Cross Blue Shield really helps them with next steps. And then we have Project Search, which is going to be changing. It originally was working either at Mass Pioneer or Cambridge Health Alliance, and you get a daily stipend, and we would it would be about 9 months, and it's every day working in 3 different departments for each 3 of the 3 months out of the 9, and we've had very, very lots of success, close to 100% employment rate with that program, but it was an expensive program to run, and MCB does not have the funds right now, but we're being creative and trying to think of other ways to keep this going. So if people want to ask questions about what I've said already, I'm happy to entertain those questions, and then I have a little bit more that I want to share, but maybe we could open up now.
Sure, go ahead.
Marianne?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Drew. I've met you before on the well, not met you, but I've spoken to you once on the phone because I was looking in one time maybe to moving Massachusetts. But what I want to ask, do they have packaging and assembling jobs up here?
Yes. I mean, what I would do is look at different jobs that have that, as the type of work that they focus on. I know there's one place called Blue to Green. It used to be in Cambridge. Now it's in Worcester, but they're thinking about moving back. They make bags and other things from actually not so much medical waste that you throw away, but hospital gowns and things that I guess you can keep. I don't know everything about the company, but I also know there's companies that pack things for, like there used to be a pen company in Newton. So what I would do is educate myself more about assembly work, and then, you and I would go searching together for that.
Yeah, well, I'm actually looking. I'm in a program in Florida. I'm in an enclave. It's not a workshop anymore. It's an enclave.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things I told my job coach, I know blind people visually impaired, I should say, do work at TJ Maxx and things like that.
Definitely.
You did.
Yes, we had one of the callers, Stephen, you worked at TJ Maxx, right?
Well, you had me doing everything. It was great because, in the beginning I was like, I don't want to do this, but I closed that resume gap and I got 2 jobs thanks to you. The MBTA, of course, was a direct connection, but with Mike helping me with the LinkedIn and all that, because I was, a little unemployed for a while, so it's like when you get that resume gap, you got to really get your butt moving.
Sure, very good point.
But I want to thank you for the opportunity. Like the whole Carroll Center, they have you move a little beyond your comfort zone and do things you probably wouldn't. I mean, if you had told me before Project Search you're going to be working on the MBTA, it's like, I don't like taking buses and subways and trains. I get panic attacks. Well, not anymore.
Look at that. Well, that's quite a success story that Stephen has to share.
And as far as the stipends Project Search, that helped me get my book out a lot faster. So it was all good. It was all good.
Didn't even think of that. That's great. So, yeah, I think what I really try to do, Drew, is fit what you're looking for. And, I think at times, sometimes people that are meaning well and trying to help people, sometimes they try to make the decision for you, which, is not good. I mean, you guys are the people. You're in the driver's seat.
Yeah. And then a lot of people, I tell people all the time, I'm not a lot of people pressure me or question me. I'm not a Braille reader. I tried it at Perkins. I mean, I can just do my microwave and, very simple Braille, but I don't feel it in my fingertips. And somebody told me that, well, there's only it's a one-way street, and they think it's a one-way street, and if I don't learn Braille, I can't get a job. And I said, that's not true.
No,
but Marianne, I think what I really appreciated about, like I said, the Carroll Center too, but the whole Project Search and all that is they, remember I was in there and it's like, I just want to do tech. And and then you had me do the rotations. Like, I don't want to work front desk. You kicked me out of the tech program because it was ended early. But it was like, I just suggest to anyone that try to think of other, because I was always narrow-minded, so I'm not perfect. I was like, that's all I want to do is technology. Well, the truth is, I got a little rusty. I haven't done it in a while, so I said maybe I should think of something else because I would have to go back to school to be up to the mod. So I was like, yeah, I'll think of other things. But I wanted to do something with accessibility, so I got that with the web testing and the MBTA. So I really want to thank you for keeping that fire under my butt.
And it's you that decided to come when you didn't feel like it.
But you know those times that, when I was discouraged and me and Richard were pulling down the ship. It's like we're out of here if we don't see any changes by August. And Mike was like, hey guys, there's some younger people here. You want to set a better example and kind of keep that negative attitude away from other people. And we stuck it out because I thought he was really going to leave. So it wasn't us, but it was you guys understanding, supporting us and saying, well, think about this way, so think about it that way.
Well, that's what I think was great, and I'm going to always continue to push that model. When you're coming every day, it's different than feeling like people forgot about you at your house. Project Search is you're there, you're going every day, and then the goal is that we would get you a job. So our job is not finished until we get you a job. So sometimes I feel
Florida.
Yes.
Can you work with people in Florida?
Oh, have we helped people in Florida?
Yeah.
Is that the question? I'm sure that some of the Carroll Center participants have come from Florida. We help all the way. We've helped California. We've helped people out of the country. Our concentration seems to a lot be New England, New York, D.C. We have a lot from Oklahoma, Montana, but they're getting, we had Iowa as well, but they're trying to, they get people all the time, getting new people.
Are they trying to, I'm sorry, I wanted to ask Marianne, because this goes with Drew's question, are they trying to replicate this specifically for blind and visually impaired in other states, do you know of? That would be a great idea.
I agree.
It would be, yes. And I think what there is now is there's many, many project searches, but they're mostly for people with developmental disabilities.
Oh.
But you can, kind of maybe go on the web and search project search and find out, is there one nearby? And sometimes they'll add you, you're someone with a disability, so you might still be able to be part of that project search within your community. And if you have trouble, I can talk to Paula Johnson, who's the program manager. So that might be an idea. I know April and Drew, maybe there's some opportunities for you guys through a project search model.
I was about to ask a similar question.
Sure.
In fact, maybe the others two that go together, because I'm also out of state. I guess I'm wondering, of those programs, which programs of those 6 do the clients live on campus? That is assuming they have state sponsorship from their own state, whether that be Virginia.
Definitely.
And secondly, when you say you find jobs for people, can you clarify? Do you only find this is after they graduate the program? Like, do you only find them jobs in Massachusetts, or will you connect them with other resources in their home state? Or I guess I'm wondering, is it expected that if you're not a Massachusetts resident, are you expected to relocate to get that job?
Okay, so I'll start. The first question I heard you ask was which programs out of the 6 that I mentioned are where people reside on campus.
Yeah,
and,
where do you provide housing?
Okay,
yeah.
So actually in all of them but Project Search.
That's what I thought you'd say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the Project Search, I work, and then the Real World to Work, we actually are using a college campus now.
Oh, you do? It's not the dormitory
LaSalle
anymore?
College in Newton.
Okay.
So you get, a little bit more taste of what college life is like.
Oh, they don't use Joseph's Hall anymore. Okay.
And then Project Search is, the goal is to get the person working in the community. Well, that's the goal of all of them. But
right.
That one we provide the competitive employment development. Now, and then your last question was about would people get resources in their own state? I would love for that to happen.
Uh-huh.
We would need a larger vocational staff than just myself. I mean, it's me and
call the president and have him make America great again and give us funding.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But what we are doing is we've put together some surveys that at least we're going to be doing more reaching out when people graduate. So, but I know you also said you might be interested in, perhaps looking at some of these programs.
Yes, we would.
Yes, I would to attend the
Kathy,
program. Yeah, not to relocate, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Kathy Felt is our admissions coordinator.
Uh-huh.
So what we could do is maybe Bob, I can give you. Well, it's really just the Carroll Center number, and then our receptionist can connect you to Kathy. But
sure.
If you want me to give that number now, or does that work for people? And then
email it. You can email it to me unless you want.
I'll do that.
Public to know all about her. That's fine. How to reach her.
Yeah.
I know the center's number 2.
Oh, that's
okay,
good.
You got the center. Yeah, that's the 617-969-6200.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 800 number.
Yeah.
Well,
so
they also have a center in Florida, which I went to, which was great. That's very similar to the Carroll Center, and that was 17, 18 years ago, the Conklin Center, and I graduated from there in Daytona.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. So are you working, you said you're in an enclave, right?
Right.
And what company are you working for?
It's Boca Habilitation Services.
Nice. And Ashley, you said you're looking for work. Is there someone that's helping you look for work?
My family, our services weren't weren't really helpful to me down here.
Okay.
To put it.
What kind of work are you looking for?
I graduated with a BA degree, so I'm hoping to go into communications or maybe work with children or something in the human services sector. I'm kind of really open-minded, but I really like to work with people and use my interpersonal skills. So I'm looking into to a lot of different types of things, and I've had interviews in the past year even. So I've gotten face-to-face, but that's as far as I've gotten, and then yeah. So.
How about, do they have a career center in your community?
They do, yeah.
Have you used them? Because they can be very helpful because they help you with resumes, they help you with everything, cover letters.
A little bit. Yeah.
Well, I would encourage you to do more of that, because if you're actively looking for work, that they have a lot of resources.
Right.
Some of them even have programs where right now they're charged to work with people with disabilities, and I have one woman that's
the ADA.
She's got it's a volunteer job at a hospital, but they're actually paying her through this grant to work. So
that is a good source to volunteer, even if volunteer can work into a job, because that's
and it keeps your resume no gaps in there, because that's the worst thing. Cause when they see a gap in your resume, you get a lot of explaining to do.
Yes.
Marianne, I have a question for you. Years ago, when I was in Carroll Center, many years ago, there was a man who used to work there, and he used to conduct interviews with the blind people, like pretending that they go in for the job.
Sure, like a mock interview
people, kind of. They do not have personality. When they meet somebody new, they just don't know what to do, and that's one of the reasons creates all kind of problem when you send. I remember years ago when I got my first job at WBZ. After the interview, the man asked me, says, providing that you get a job here, how are you going to get here? And obviously, the very thing that came to my mind felt like saying that, do you ever ask those questions from sighted people?
Exactly. I've had that happen.
No, let me tell you, I wasn't going to say that. Remember, he's the one who's going to hire you or not. So I said to him, well, I have 3 ways to get here, because already I went with my mobility instructor, got to know the area, because you have to prepare yourself. I said, well, I would usually take the train, and I told him, the train will take me here, take a bus there, came behind the WBZ, and walk in about, 3 minutes. I said, the other alternative, that we have a ride. I can arrange the ride, and so the ride picks me up and go back, because my shift was from 4 to midnight. And I said, the last one, if worse comes to worse with all cases, I could always jump a cab if I was late or anything. It's only 7 minutes drive. I used to live in Gilmore Square. What I'm trying to say to you, is there any way that, I know your job is looking for a job for these people. Sometimes when you interview them, you see how are they going to conduct themselves, to have a personality. Because most people, remember, the very first thing they're going to find out if this person is, pleasing enough to fit in the company. If they don't have much of a personality and all that with an interview, that's not going to give any impression, no matter how knowledgeable in the job you would be. Do you have any program like that?
So you're talking about assisting with the interview stage? Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so definitely in all those programs, we focus on resume skills, interview, when, talking about disclosure, accommodation scripts, elevator speeches.
Yeah,
and
I loved it.
Yeah, and we are actually going to start off in second week of February. We're going to do something new, Stephen. We're going to, and everyone else, we're going to provide workshops Thursday afternoons from 3 to 5. No cost to people who are blind or visually impaired to come, and we'll be covering all those topics. So, but you're right. An interview is really a conversation, and I know the burden still falls on your shoulders with trying to educate people. You know, very well-educated people still ask questions. Well, what can a blind person do? You know, you feel floored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they ask that type of question.
I mean, I went to Perkins. I'm actually originally from Massachusetts, Marianne, and I went to Perkins.
Okay.
I went to Perkins
great.
for almost 10 years, and I was supposed to graduate, but unfortunately, my family ended up, my mom ended up moving to Florida, and I had to go. So I really wanted to stay. I was very disappointed, but I knew a lot, and Perkins taught me a lot. I was doing job in my resume. I was doing job training since I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I mean, I was doing dish crew, and I worked in the student store. Do you ever go over to Perkins a lot?
Well, I do, and that's a big part of what makes for successful people is collaboration. I think starting out by being a twin, I always had to share and work with somebody. And Perkins, National Braille Press, Mass Commission for the Blind, Mass Association for the Blind, we've run a job fair for the last 7 years, and it's gotten better and better each year. And people are getting jobs, people are getting paid internships. Employers are offering to do other things like, be a place where you can do the mock interviews. Because, I mean, I can do mock interviews with people, but it's best to have, the professionals, the people that actually do that for a living, do that. So,
right.
That was I think, like you were saying, the collaborations in the network, and there was somebody on this line a long time ago that said, what good is networking? It's like, I would have not had my job if it wasn't all the people that are willing to work with us specifically.
And this being Martin Luther King Day, you talk about civil rights, and another civil rights is people with disabilities, and we still need jobs and need to be treated fairly and need to have housing. You guys are still fighting for this stuff. And
hi, Marianne.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
So who am I speaking to now?
Jody Luxembourg. Do you remember me?
Oh, of course. Oh, my gosh. Blast from the past.
So, Jody, was it easy enough for you to do it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
To answer your question.
So good to hear your voice. How are you doing?
I just mainly called to say hello to you.
Oh, well, I'm so happy that you did. I mean, you were, the last I remember was... You can't work anymore?
No.
Well, that happens, to all of us.
I had a very serious accident.
Oh, I'm sorry.
By a truck.
Oh, Jody, gosh. Oh.
Yes.
So,
Marianne.
Where are you living now? Are you with a support system? People helping you? Did you go off?
Marcy can answer that.
Okay.
Do I?
Is that a long story going on?
Yeah. Marcy is the representative.
We've known each other since '91, Bob.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's nice. So a good connection from Bob. I know, Jody, when I knew you were working at AIM Safety Envelope.
Oh, wow.
That was a long time ago. You what?
I lost that job, and about 2 years later, I got another job at a clothing. AJ Wright, who closed down.
AJ Wright, you went
I
to.
remember that.
Oh, okay. Nice.
All right. And then I worked there for 12 years, and then 2 years later, I got run over by a truck.
Wow.
Wow.
Ouch.
Well, it's so good to hear your voice.
We've known each other since '91.
Wow.
You and me, Marianne.
Yeah, 91. Yeah, that was almost when I first started, because I started in 89. Now, you still knew Marianne Collins and Jennifer Fike?
Oh,
and...
I never
I knew Marianne
Collins until I started the program.
Okay. Wow. We have somebody, I don't know, if you knew the client, Jerry Alexander?
No.
Okay. Yeah, he's working
Maybe
with
I
us
know
now
him
at the
by
Carroll
face.
Center.
I don't know him by name.
Yeah. But yeah, I know. Part of me thinks, 1989. That was just a few days ago. 1991. But yeah,
hey, I thought when I finished Project Search, it seems like yesterday, and it's been 4 years. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
craziness.
3 years. Okay.
No, but yeah, I've had a tough. Marcy can tell you when you get off. I've had a tough few years.
Well, I'm so glad that you and Marcy stayed connected, and you talked through Bob, and the people on this call are very kind, loving, and accepting people. So the other kind of collaboration that I like to do is with places like Work Without Limits. You guys have probably heard about them.
No, I've never.
They have a.
I didn't know you got an award from them. I was like, wow, you're very modest.
Yeah. Back in 2004, it was a surprise to me, but it was nice that they recognized some of the work that I was doing. But they're focused. What's it again?
Are you happy about that the law passed with the piece rate law that you can't get paid by the pieces anymore?
Yeah, and it has to be minimum wage?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very happy about that, because that was unfair labor.
Right.
I remember when I worked at the workshop in Norwood, some people, they'd work really, really hard, and at the end of the week would not have much to show for it. So that was very unfair. So yes.
Is that workshop still open?
Some of them are kind of more. Well, they might come to a place in the morning, and then they go on transportation to maybe community places where they maybe do culinary work, or that's because I know there's still Triangle is still there, but I think it's more where they meet in the morning and then they go to their job sites. Is that how it is with the caller in Florida? Let's see, I know your name. I just
Don Drew. No, I work there.
You go right to the company, but there's some places I think. Some places actually train people. Like I think Triangle has a culinary arts program at the site.
Have you heard of New England Villages?
What is that like?
No, that's in Pembroke, Mass. That's why I've looked into them when I was trying to maybe move up, and I've heard of them through Perkins.
Oh.
Yeah. Is it a work program for people?
Yes, it used to be. It's in Hanson, Massachusetts too. They have the workshop in Hanson, Mass.
Yeah. So I don't think they're typically like they were in the 80s and 70s, 80s, 90s. I think the big push is community employment. But again, they might have a center where people go to in the morning.
Yeah.
And
well, me, if I'm the way I would do it, I mean, if I'm going to work, I would just take my transportation there instead of meeting there.
No,
I would.
TJ Maxx still doing that program that they were doing that summer. The employment. What do they call it? Something. What is it? Off something? You know what I'm talking about, Marianne?
That one.
But no, the TJ Maxx. It was called something employment. I forgot what they called it.
Now I'm blanking on it.
Yeah,
but it's kind of a pilot project and it's non-traditional work.
Non-traditional, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
But Drew, it was like that because they did all the packing and unpacking.
Yeah. Good point, Stephen. Yes.
Yeah,
so,
I tried to apply for.
Is this Bob?
Jeffrey Friedlander. The experience I had when of course, when I worked at 46 years ago, I worked at National Bell Press for a year and a half.
Okay, yeah.
My gross at the time was $325 a month, which would be like $6,000 today, $5,000 today. Excuse me. And I didn't know that, and I was going to cut off my SSDI, and my mother wouldn't let me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then, but then what happened? When I worked at Clover Nook in Cincinnati, but my goal was to get off of SSDI, which I did for 3.5. And in fact, the year before I cut it off, my gross was $43.66 a month above what I was allowed to make.
Oh, okay.
And therefore, I owed. I mean, after sending back $1,164 in uncashed checks, my income dropped. Well, I went back in the bindery because I was the last one in the transcription. So my income dropped to where I could no longer make enough to stay off of SSDI, which is now regular Social Security. So when I reapplied, I found out I owed them $6,000 more in overpayments I wasn't entitled to.
Now, that's an incentive to make people go to work, huh?
Gosh.
Disincentive again. So,
exactly.
Did you have to pay?
So how I get around that now, I mean, if I take any proofreading on, I won't charge because you got to pay tax. In fact, I do it on a volunteer basis for several agencies.
I mean, one way, because SSI and SSDI, all that is so difficult to learn and work through. They now
dealing with them is frustrating.
Yeah. Well, they have programs called Benny Plan and Project Impact, depending where you live in Massachusetts. And these people are your friend, and they help you understand all the different things about SSI, SSDI.
Anyway, we never learned that, so I went to College of Hard Knocks.
I never learned that until I saw them speak recently either. I didn't know all the ins and outs. It's a lot to know. Yeah. It's just
but I'm allowed to make so much money a month. I have SSA, not to be personal, but I have SSA, and I'm allowed to make a lot. Oh
yeah, I mean, because you're not doing a real high-paying job, so I mean, you could probably work 40 hours a week.
I mean, like when I worked at in the transcription department in Clover Nook, and they're doing food. That's one of the highest paying jobs it had, which is why and then in fact, when I told my brother I was cutting off Social Security disability, that threw him for a loop.
Yeah. Well, it's confusing, and sometimes sometimes what you can do, too, is you can write things off as a subsidy. So if you have a guide dog, you need to use a cab.
The only other way around that is to cut your hours.
Yep.
Which that wasn't my doing because like if they want you to work full time, let's say, you either have to. Like if let's say you're already receiving SSDI or regular Social Security, whatever when they did put a limit on how much you can make.
Right.
So, and I mean and that's what turned me against money in more ways than one. When you know it's sort of against the cheap. I mean, I've even been on the welfare system, whereby you could not have a cent to your name. I lived in Illinois.
Yes.
So many things that are still not right about the system. I mean, it
all boils down to the housing, because a lot of people are afraid to go off the system because it's like you get a good job, you'll be able to afford your own place, but then you lose your job. You're going to go to a shelter and get on an emergency waiting list. those are things that scare a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the fear, and then, the reason why
and right away they'd say, "Oh, you don't need us. You're making too much."
Gosh. Imagine if they treated everybody like that.
From that standpoint.
It's too, what happens, again, with the civil rights we were talking about is they're still treating people that, in some ways have more needs in a way that's discriminatory.
Well, you either think you can do it 100% on your own or that you're helpless. They don't have. Well, they're getting better, I guess, in the middle.
Exactly.
So what you're doing is stuff that you're doing is showing people that, yes,
right.
we were somewhere in the middle. We needs help with this, but we can do that.
Marianne.
Oh, yes.
Is Dr. Bill Kiernan still in the field of doing this?
Yes, he is. He actually got an award at the Mass Office on Disability, MOD,
really?
in September. So I got to see him. He looks the same, a little bit more white on his hair, but
last time when I saw him, he was white.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Marcy?
The last time you and I saw him, he was pretty white.
Yes, now it's even whiter. But he looks good. He's doing well, and I
was his first guinea pig when he started the program.
Those are the best programs.
Yeah.
You're a pioneer. Yeah. I love it. I was a pioneer.
Yeah, he had some good things to say too in his remarks. He focused on if somebody with a disability doesn't like their job, it's our job to help them find something they do. Because sometimes there you are, you help somebody find a job, and then you think to yourself, okay, we're done. But no, we all grow, and we all, want new things and want to progress. And I think that gets to be an issue sometimes too. Is that
Yeah, it's more about finding a job you want to do, because I could have been working somewhere I didn't. So again, with talking all the teamwork we had, it's like I actually am doing stuff I love doing, and I'm getting paid to do it.
Yeah, and that's what we all want that.
Yeah, and back in regard to the programs at the center, that's I'm glad you have so many options. Could you talk about the I guess two things are the technology facilities. Do you guys use PCs with Windows 10, or what do they have available, and who provides the accommodations on the job site? Because that's expensive, say, to install JAWS. It's $1,000.
Okay. So, yes, there is Windows 10. They're staying up to date on those variety of things at the Carroll Center.
I'm glad to hear that, because our center in Richmond is not, but I won't go further in ranting about that. We need improvements ourselves. We're not perfect, but I think they're trying hard. And your question about, what was the second question, was about jobs? Who pays for these
the
internships? How do you supply the accommodations, which, as we know, get in the thousands for a braille display, JAWS, etc.?
Well, it depends on the employer. Like somebody like State Street Bank, they're global. They're huge. They're very wealthy. So with them, the expectation would be that they would provide it. And we've had probably about 6 interns work with them, and they just kind of take care of that.
Have it on site already? Okay.
We had it. Well, what happens too is sometimes you guys will get a demo, or there'll be you're awarded maybe 2 or 3 licenses of JAWS. The other thing is we had because it was just a summer position, we were able to get a demo of JAWS and get it on a thumb drive. So that was the way they did it one time.
That's another issue, especially in the hospitals, because they were PCs, but the medical proprietary software, it wasn't accessible, so they had to have a scripter come in. That's why Project Search cost so much, because the guy was there all the time making the computers workable. By the time I got out, they worked. Because that's a big.
I've run into that problem, even though I know how to use JAWS. That the software the employer uses is not accessible to a screen reader. So
especially hospitals and banks.
They're done. Oh, I know. I've been there, done that.
Okay.
I've tried it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is very.
I mean,
the other thing
I even told my family the other day because they didn't even know. I said even blind people work in restaurants. I mean, rolling silverware, which is pretty easy too.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah, any job, and you were talking about driverless cars, so maybe you guys can do that someday.
Maybe one
day.
But
I'm a little nervous doing that.
I know, yeah.
I mean, they say you can do anything, so it's like I want to fly an airplane. Okay.
There you go, Steve.
But
yeah, I think
that.
I've always wanted to work in the hospital, like in their mailroom, stuffing envelopes and stuff like that.
Marianne, that Project Search was doing that.
Yeah, definitely. So they're, now do you have a vocational counselor, Drew, that you work with?
Yeah, I have a blind services counselor.
Okay. So maybe together you two could look into, project searches in the area because they're mostly at hospitals. They do have other businesses as well, but
you get paid.
At the one that we had, we did pay. We did a $20 a day stipend for it was for 9 months. So
yeah.
So some of them
children still do it too, or is it just Mass General?
I think Children's, so they don't call it Project Search at Children's.
They
called, when you were in it and when I was doing it, it was called the Work Experience Program, but I don't know if it has a different name now. But I believe they still do it there. I don't know if it's for as long as it used to be. It might be.
Does the hospital do it themselves? Is that the hospital running their own program?
Yeah, that's what probably the model we're going to go to is that Mass Eye would run it themselves, or if we were able to stay with Cambridge Health. I mean, we are going to stay with Cambridge Health as far as, just individual internships.
Well, I'll have to come back and have lunch at the cafeteria in Cambridge. They had good food over there.
Yeah, wasn't it?
What do you do with Cambridge Health Alliance?
Yeah, so the project search that Carroll Center was running with Mass Commission had that as a host site. And so Stephen was part of that program. Stephen was the one of the forerunners because he was our first group.
Yeah.
You had me running around asking my patients how they like the food. I was like, I don't want to do this. It was interesting, though, because it helps you get to know people. It helps you interpersonal skills. But in the beginning, I was like, why am I doing this? But it's great, though, because we had a great rapport, It's like, all right, can vent now. It's like, but it doesn't. We managed.
Yeah, I think people have been talking about volunteer work. There's also, sometimes you can go for a tour, kind of a workplace tour to peak your.
Although Marianne, I don't want to interrupt, but I had a bad experience with Sturdy Memorial Hospital.
Yeah, tell us about that.
They were so worried about me. What's going to happen if there's a fire? And I'm thinking, I'd probably lead you out through the smoke if I knew the hospital. And Brittany's like, well, he'll have mobility. And it's like, I just kind of was like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to educate these people. I know I probably should, but it's like, now I'm working anyway, so it's like, okay. But they were so...
Go to the hospital for emergency. What do they got to worry?
Hey, guys, follow me. Follow my tapping cane. We'll get out of here in one piece. They were so worried, but... that's what I mean. If they had this nationwide, people would be more. But I know it's funding, and it probably never happened.
Well, I know sometimes you're asked to do things that you're like, wow, the world seems like they're in the caveman, era.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, these kind of informational interviews. That's another way to network. Is say you want to.
Yes.
Let's see, Ashley, you were saying you wanted kind of communications and human services, maybe going to a few nonprofits and doing some informational interviews, just so people get to know you. And, you seem to be a likable person and, keep in touch with that person, and they may they may themselves not have a job, but they might know somebody that does.
But that's the point. That's it, because when I was on LinkedIn, the web testing I do from home, he actually watched my thing with the MBTA on my YouTube channel that I was on Branco Broadcast, and he said I was really impressed. So it's networking. It came out of the blue. Because I was like, what's the sense of having LinkedIn? This is a waste of time. But it just was like a coincidence. This guy calls me out of nowhere. I checked it out, and I'm getting.
Yeah, I checked it out too.
Website.
I wanted to make sure. But so the LinkedIn.
I mean, like I volunteer at my temple, and the and the high holidays, she wanted people to help, and they said, oh yeah, and no one showed up. So she called me and she said, I know you'll show up, and she said, I don't know if you can do these things because I don't know about your vision. And I said, I'll show up, we'll look, and someone else was helping me, and I said, I can handle this, and I can do it much better if I do it alone without the other sighted person.
Sure, good.
He's better than me. And I got my job done, and he was already in the sanctuary doing what he was doing, and he was doing it completely wrong. And we ran out of stuff, so I said to him, no, I'll go talk to Benita. And I went to Benita, and I told her so she says, do what you think needs to be done, and tell Lainey to come and see me. So I picked up all the cards, and I said to her before I came into the sanctuary, I said, so how many seats are there? How many seats are there? Minus me? Minus my seat?
Sure. How many?
And she told me, and I said, okay, and I took pens. She says, what are you doing? I said, I have to do some division. And she says, the calculator's over there. I said, I'm just as good as the calculator. So I got the pencil in my hand, she's got the calculator, and we both come up with the same number.
There you go.
Keep that Alzheimer's at bay that way. You just keep your brain moving.
Yeah.
So I divided it, and then I told, and I went and I took the cards and I counted each row, so many seats, and he was going to help me. I said, no, just go talk to Benita. And then the rabbi was coming in to practice for what she had to do, and she saw what I was doing, and she just watched me, and I finished, and I came up to where my seat is because I had the other stuff there. And she said, I knew Benita could count on you, and I didn't even realize she was there.
Wow.
She said to me,
before we conclude,
I think that's a lot of, one person earlier, Drew maybe, was talking about how they ask you when you're on your interview about transportation. We had one. Who asked that question?
Jay would ask that.
Okay.
I got asked that one, but now I have more skills. I'll be like, I got here today, didn't I?
Yeah. So
it is. Yeah.
We had a gentleman that did not have any sight, and he had a guide dog, and his manager was just like floored, thinking he was gonna walk to South Station and take that to one bus line and take a train line, and so he said, is it okay if I walk with you to South Station? He said, because how are you going to do this? So, I mean, he showed him and he did it safely, but I think in a way it was nice that the employer said, can I go with you? I mean.
That's cool, because it shows them more interest in their employees.
Right.
That's what you want.
And we did sighted guide the first day. We were talking to each other in a conference room, and then I said to the employer, how about we do sighted guide right now? And we did it in a crowded room. And
all blindfolded, right? I would assume.
Well, he didn't do it blindfolded, but he was just a very kind of a can-do spirit.
That's good, though. That's
which
we want to work for. Yeah.
And he had a story. He was from India, and his story was he wanted to start a company when he was like 16 years old.
Yeah.
And someone said, and I think the guy's name was Bob. He said, the best guy to help you in accounting is this gentleman who's blind. His name is Bob. And so this guy was thinking, oh my gosh, really? This is the person to go to? So he went to the person who was blind, and I mean, his company really took off, and it was really thanks to this person. So when State Street said, does any manager want to take this on, that experience he had as a teenager really helped him to, be more of a believer. So I think you have champions in different places that.
Well, like you said, elevator speeches. You're selling yourself.
Definitely.
Content. It's the content.
There's people out there in certain companies that really take this on, hire people, believe in it, and then they are champions for other companies. So State Street is a big champion, and then Blue Cross Blue Shield and TJX companies and Mott Free Insurance and different places that are the forerunners, and then you have
TJX
other places.
Still involved?
Say that again?
I said TJX is still involved?
It's still involved. Yeah, we have people that have been hired. Probably about 12 people have been hired.
They've recently, in the last year or so, been sold.
Been sold? TJX has been sold?
Yeah.
Well, that's just new management, though. I mean.
Yeah, it used to be run by, I think her name was Carroll, and I'm forgetting her last name. And it's a new person now.
People, but
a gentleman.
Anymore.
So, I'm sure they're making changes.
Years.
The last 2 years?
Right was part of TJX.
Okay. I'm not as up on them as I used to be. Because I have a few more programs.
And visually impaired people can work at Home Depot and stuff, right?
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of jobs that, I think it's more one of the points that was in the talk that I had prepared was, the job match being is what you're looking for. So if you have somebody that says that they want to work and they want to help with the job process as much as they can, it's the employment specialist job, which I do, to help that person get there and then help with the supports. Now, sometimes they need a job coach for most of the time they're there. Sometimes they only need maybe a job coach for their first day, or sometimes not at all. So you figure out what works for the person.
Marianne, we are out of time.
Okay, well, this has been so much fun, I even forgot about the time.
That's good.
Well, we thank you for being on the program this evening.
So I will email the numbers for people, and I know some people were still, like Ashley, you might be interested, or other people too. And some people were old friends of mine and still friends, so thank you so much, everybody. This has been great.
Thank you.
Marianne,
Thanks.
Have a nice day, everybody.
Before we